I am here with a book review for you. As you know from the spring break book tag video, I am marathoning the Lunar Chronicles series. So I'm going to put up a review for each of the books, and this is the very first one about Cinder. I finished this over spring break, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. It's going to be kind of a short review. I'll try not to spoil anything for you, and if I do plan on talking about spoilers, I will let you know so that if you have not read this book yet, you can stop the video and come back to it later when you have read the book. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I enjoyed it thoroughly. This is actually the second time that I've read it because I read it way back a while ago and just never read the other books. And so I reread this just to remind myself of what was happening, and I loved it just as much the second time as I did the first time. I am going to talk about a couple of the characters. I have kind of a love-hate list of characters that I really loved and characters that I absolutely hate but also love to hate. And so the first character that comes to mind whenever I think about this book is Aiko. I just love Aiko. She is so funny, and she has this personality that an android you wouldn't think would have, being a robot. And it makes me wonder, did Cinder make that personality, or did it come from some of the experiences mixed with the programming? I don't know, but I love her. Next is Cinder. I do love Cinder. I think that she's obviously conflicted, has no idea what her purpose is in life. She doesn't feel loved by her family. She kind of feels loved by her stepsister Peony, but by Pearl, her other stepsister, and her stepmother Adri, she doesn't feel any love. No love. But Aiko loves her, so that's good. Next, I absolutely love Peony, and that is Cinder's stepsister. And she is so kind and really nice to Cinder, even though they're stepsisters. She treats her like an equal, like a human being, and really wants her in her life. Next is Kai, Prince Kai, going to be emperor. I like him a lot. I think he's really down to earth, and he comes to Cinder's shop and asks her to fix his own android, Nancy, I think it is. And he is totally fine. I mean, obviously he has to disguise himself, but totally fine just going in and doing it on his own and asking for help versus sending a servant to do it. And I really like that about him. It makes him a little more human to me and not so much protected. Lastly, I really like Dr. Erland. I think there are some things about him that are a little bit conflicting just because of his own stuff that he's dealing with, but in general, I just really like him and how honest he is sometimes for what he can be, and just the way that he talks in this book really makes me gravitate toward him because he's very intelligent, and that's what I like about him. On to the hate list. Obviously, starting off with Levana. Love to hate her. She is awful. She's just awful. Evil, evil, evil. Awful, evil. We'll get into stuff later. Then we have Adri, who is feeling so sorry for herself because she lost her husband, which okay, that's sad. I get that. But you need to move on and make sure that you are a kind person and spend your life not blaming other people for things that happen to you. Make your own life. Make sure that what you are doing with your life is what you want to be doing and not blaming other people for what has happened to you. And then lastly, I don't like Pearl, the other stepsister, because she is selfish and she's mean to Cinder and she doesn't have the same big heart that Peony does, and just, don't like her. A couple other things that I want to talk about is, first, I love that it's set in New Beijing, which is like in the Asia area after a war, but I think it's so nice to have a book or a series that is not predominantly set in America. And I love America, don't get me wrong. I am a US citizen, but I think it's nice to bring in different cultures and especially have the main setting be somewhere where I don't necessarily live. So I really enjoyed that about this book. I also love that it's a fairy tale retelling, and I know we say fairy tale retelling, but this is almost an extension of a fairy tale. It's not the typical Cinderella story. I mean, it has Cinderella-esque moments, but it definitely goes beyond the Cinderella story. And then in my other reviews later, when I talk about Scarlet and Cress and Winter and Fairest, I will talk about how they string together, but I just like how it's not the same story. There are similar elements, but it's not the same story, and I really like that about this. We're gonna go back to Aiko because I love her, and even in the very beginning of this book, it's page 14, you see her personality come out. And this is after Prince Kai, comes to drop off his android for Cinder. He leaves and Cinder's finally relaxed, like, oh, thank he's gone. And here's Aiko. Aiko rolled to her side, clasping her metal grippers over her chest. Prince Kai, check my fan. I think I'm overheating. She's so funny. I love her. So now we're gonna get into some spoilery parts. So if you have not read this book yet, we will see you later when you do read the book. Come back and watch my spoilery section. But for now, if you have not read the book, we'll see you later. All right, spoilers. Aiko is taken apart. Adri takes Aiko apart, and I wanted to smack her so hard for doing that because, oh, so evil. Just evil. Why is she so mean? I just don't get it. And then crying, bawling your eyes out when Peony dies, even though Dr. Erland gave, Cinder an antidote to go give to Peony, she was just too late. And then we find out that the androids are taking out the personality, or the chips, not personality chips, the chips in people's arms and selling them on the black market. And so then Cinder does it herself and takes it because she just can't lose Peony, and crying there. And then we get to toward the end when she ends up talking to Cress, I believe, and Cress warns her of what's going to happen, that when they get married, that Levana is just going to kill him anyway and take over the empire. And so Cinder, despite having not wanted to go to the ball, even though she was personally invited by Prince Kai, she ends up saying, I have to go warn him. So she goes. She's a hot mess. She's drenched because it's raining. She's full of mud. Her gloves are totally ruined, the gloves that Prince Kai gave her. And yet here she goes to warn him about Levana. And then we get the ballroom scene where she basically confronts Levana and says that she can't marry Prince Kai because Prince Kai is in love with her, Cinder. And then all of a sudden we see that everyone else finds out she's a cyborg, and then she's like stuck on the steps and she loses her foot, and oh goodness, it's not even a shoe that's left on the steps, it's an entire foot in this case. And then she's put into jail, and then at the very end we find out that she is in fact Princess Celine, who is the only person who can take over Levana's reign as queen and save the entire Earthen world and Luna from the psychoness that is Levana. I absolutely loved this book. I hope that you loved it as well if you've watched this far into my video, and I am very excited to review Scarlet. So I will leave the Goodreads link for Cinder down below. Please comment and let me know what you thought of the book, if you agree with any of my thoughts, if you disagree with any of my thoughts, or just let me know your thoughts in general. I would love to hear them. I hope you guys all have an amazing day, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye everyone!